Welcome to the Hawks Talk podcast. All things Blackburn Hawks.
In behind the defence, cuts around, scores! Blackburn Hawks win this game 8 goals to 5.
All the latest news, player interviews and much more.
Shoots, scores!
Hawks Talk.
Well, it is that time again. We are back to bring you a brand new episode of the Hawks Talk podcast. My name is Graham Hamilton. I am your host as we talk about all things Blackburn Hawks. This is just a special mention. Unfortunately, Andre Payet, the former Whitley Warrior, Sheffield Steel Dog and AHL Calder Cup champion, has sadly passed away earlier this week. On behalf of the Blackburn Hawks and the Hawks media team, we wanted to pass on our most sincere condolences to Andre's family and friends at this most difficult time.
Hawks Talk.
Before we get into this episode's interviews, let's kick off by talking about the recent games. We've had 4 games throughout September. 2 of those were home games and 2 were away from the nest. Well, starting off the month and the season, we headed over to South Yorkshire for a Battle of the Roses against the Sheffield Scimitars. A great way to kick things off with a 4-1 win against the team that were our bogey team, we've got to say, last season. So a good way to start us off. And a special mention as well to netminder Alex Ordell for a superb debut between the pipes for the Hawks. The following night, we were back in action at the Nest for our first home game of the season against the Solihull Barons. It was a closely fought battle with an edge-of-the-seat third period. The Hawks came back from 2 behind, but sadly lost that one 4-3. The next Sunday, we hosted the Sheffield Scimitars at the Nest. We knew after the 4-1 victory last time they were going to come and give us a game. But again, we beat them 6-3 this time, firmly shaking off that bogey team tag from last season. And finally, the most recent game away to the Nottingham Lions, a tough 8-1 loss. We'll get that one back next time we face them. I'm very confident of that. So I've got some things I need to mention before we get into this podcast. Coming up in November, we have some exciting events and themed nights at the Hawks. On the 12th of November, it is our Armed Forces Night. The Hawks will have special one-off jerseys that can be won in the raffle. And our corporate partner, Healthier Heroes, will be there as our guests. They are a veterans and their families' community interest company. 100% of the money raised from the raffle will go to our 2 community organisations. There is a sponsor appreciation night coming up as well in November at the Fernhurst, the Hungry Horse in Blackburn. More details will be coming soon for that. And we're also going to be working with Blackburn with Darwin Council on supporting men's health in November. So make sure to keep an eye on our social media for all the information. Right then, let's move on and we'll get into this episode's interviews here on Hawks Talk.
Hawks Talk.
Joining us on this episode, we have 2 new additions to the Hawks roster for this season. First up, we have Hawks forward Luke Watson. How are you, Luke?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, no, not a problem. More than happy to.
So we'll start off by talking about how you came to play at Blackburn. What was it that brought you to come and play for the Hawks?
It was a bit of a lucky break, really, I guess. I'd been playing out of Altrincham for the Aces for the past couple of seasons, and it looked a bit bleak at the start of the year. We didn't know whether they'd have a team this season, so I took my chance and thought, well, I'll trial out in a few different places, and have a couple of offers. And I thought the fit at Blackburn was really good. Really enjoyed the dressing room, and yeah, thought it was a good fit for me.
So let's talk about the most recent game away to the Lions. Sadly, an 8-1 loss. How was that game for you?
Well, it's disappointing. That's really the only word for it. We were pretty dreadful to start the game. I think, we've all accepted that. And obviously it's not at all the kind of performance we want to put in, let alone the result we want to get. So we know there are things to fix, and that's entirely on us. I thought, honestly, though, if there's one shining light from that game, it was the goaltending. I thought Keddy was absolutely exceptional, facing that many shots and making that many saves. I mean, you can't ask for more. So, yeah, I think the the outskaters, we know there's things to fix and things to improve there.
I think Keddy faced, I think it was 76 shots.
Yeah, sounds about right. It honestly could have been more. They might well have missed some. It was that kind of night, and there really are no excuses for that kind of play as a team. I'm just, I think we've got the group of players and the dressing room and the coaching team to turn this thing around. Absolutely.
It's all a learning curve, and there's got to be some positives to take from it as well.
Absolutely. I mean, we didn't get pre-season as a team. That's not to make any kind of excuses for the performance of the night, but we are still kind of finding our way and kind of gelling as a team still. So I think the positives were the goaltending. I think there were more positives from previous games than there are that one, but we are a team at the end of the day, so hopefully stick together, work hard this week, and we'll go again next weekend.
You played your university hockey in Nottingham as well, didn't you? Was it for the Mavericks?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
What was that standard like?
Uni hockey varied quite a lot. So when I joined, I'd had a team there for quite a few years. It was, I think most of them were in their second year of uni, so they all had a third year to go. So that was a very good team. That team was unbeaten in a couple of seasons in the uni league. And then in my second year of uni, we actually had an ex-pro play for us. I think he'd played in the Del 2 in Germany. And we also got a guy that had played in I think it's called the U Sports, which is the Canadian University League as well. So that team was absolutely stacked with talent. And yeah, there were some very good teams around the league as well. St Andrews were very heavy on Canadian players. Edinburgh were always very well organised. So yeah, I mean, the top end of that league are all kind of players that you see playing in this division, really.
I was just going to ask about like international players playing in the university league, if there was a lot.
Yeah, so many. There's no kind of restriction on imports, and there's no restriction on Canadian imports, especially, or North American. So you tend to have quite a few up north in St Andrews and Edinburgh, where the university fees are a bit lower, or where they have ties to Canadian schools. Unfortunately, in Nottingham, we had quite a few as well, because you get quite a few that join Leicester for the law courses in Leicester, which are quite renowned. I think there's good ties to Canada. So yeah, we got a lot of the players being the nearest ice rink came across from Leicester and brought some of their friends along as well. So yeah, it was a good mix.
Now, before the Nottingham game, we had the home game against Sheffield. Tell us your thoughts on that game.
Obviously, a much more positive result. At times, I think we showed what we were capable of as a team. And I think at times as well, especially again, we started slow. And that's something that we're not trying to make a habit out of, for sure. So, yeah, Sheffield much more positive in terms of result. And, amazing to be in front of those fans. They were absolutely outstanding again. Yeah, I thought there were parts of that game that we're really looking to build on. And that's what we'll focus on, I think.
Did you expect them to come at us a bit more, especially after the season opener away to them?
It's difficult. There's quite a lot of players in that team that I played against last year for Altrincham, actually. So there's been quite a few. They're a very young team, and there's quite a lot of them that have been promoted up, like myself, from Div 2 to Div 1. So it's I'm sure they're very much like us, of quite a new group. Haven't played together that much, so I'm sure they're just trying to gel. And I think for the first period they did come at us, and we let them really. But yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag, if you will.
We also had our first home game the week before that against the Solihull Barons, which was a closely fought game, in my opinion. And you mentioned it a little bit earlier. What did you think about playing in front of the crowd here in Blackburn for the first time? Oh,
yeah, it's just absolutely phenomenal. I think you could see it on a lot of the new guys' faces in warm-up, just looking around how many people you had in just for the warm-up alone. And then, yeah, stepping out for the first time before the anthems and all of that. Absolutely amazing. And I don't think I've heard the building quite as loud as when we started getting back into it in the third and took the lead, that kind of thing. The place was absolutely bouncing. So yeah, full credit to the fans for that, and hopefully we can make it like that more this season.
Definitely. Which of the games that you've played so far have you enjoyed the most?
That's a good question. I think it would be the Solihull game, despite the result. I think my first one at home and the way the team played, I think that was probably one of the better games we played as a team. And I think we were quite unlucky with a couple of refereeing decisions in that game towards the end that kind of took away the chance of us getting a win. But no, absolutely, I think that would have to be my favourite, the first one at home.
You mentioned it earlier, like with us not having a pre-season, but you could definitely see, particularly in that Solihull game, just the moments of magic, like the link-up play seemed to be like, it just seemed to be getting to that point where it was gelling together quite nicely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think all the lines, to be fair, have had the moments in games across the season up to now. And I think as a group, we're working hard each week in training, and Dom's putting us through our paces, and we all know it's kind of getting there bit by bit, and it's just kind of a bit of patience with the process, and kind of needs to drive from all of us to do what is being asked of us, and we know that the chemistry and all of that will just come with time.
Which of the teams in our league are you looking forward to playing the most?
I can say I'm looking forward to playing the least. Yeah, it's been a long while since I've done a trip up to Whitley Bay, but I don't know. I really don't actually. It's just excited for the next game. Bring them on one at a time.
That's a good attitude to have. I like that. Now, you mentioned it earlier. You played with the Altrincham Aces last season in the NIHL2, the Ladler. What do you think of the difference in standard between the two leagues?
It's a lot of structure. It really is. The game is much more structured from what I've seen in the first few games that I've played. You get your head up and you're looking to make a pass, and I think sometimes in Div 2 that pass would be on, and in Div 1 there's someone waiting to pick it off. So it's reminding yourself to take the moment on the puck, but also be aware that the players are coming at you quicker and they're reading the game a bit better. Not to take away from the Ladler, it's still a very competitive division, and the top end teams in that division are more than capable of stepping up, as we've seen with Widnes over the past couple of years. So yeah, I think the structure of the game and the way the teams play and the pace, obviously the pace is a massive difference.
How have you found the experience as a whole playing for the Hawks so far?
Oh, I've loved it. Absolutely loved it. I mean, the training sessions are just really enjoyable. You feel as if you're getting better week by week, and with the experience and knowledge that you've got on that coaching team with Dom and Ollie and Steve, it's so beneficial as a player being able to ask them questions and take their advice and see what they're thinking. But yeah, we've got a group of guys in that room who are bought into what we're trying to do, and we're just kind of pushing each other each week to improve.
Has there been anything that surprised you?
I think how well we're looked after, actually. I knew obviously that it's a bit more of a professional setup than what I was used to, but it really has blown me away the distance that Graham and Carl go to look after us as a group, and Tony and the other kit guys who have travelled with us and hung up our jerseys and made sure we've got everything we need. It's been eye opening. So yeah,
brilliant. Now I have to ask you this question: how tall are you?
Depends which day of the week you catch me on. No, I think I'm 6'7" without my skates, so add a couple of inches onto that on the ice.
So that'll make you nearly 7 foot on skates, won't it?
Bordering it, yeah, I think so.
Zdeno or Chara?
I wish I had a shot that big.
Do you have to get a bigger stick and things because of your height?
I tend to put a little bit of an extension into the top of it. I have my stick quite short. I found that's tended to help my stance. When I was younger, I don't think I bent my knees enough, so I tend to use a slightly. I get away with it as a forward. I think a slightly shorter stick than I should. But yeah, it does have a bit of an extension in the top compared to what you'd get in a stock stick. Yeah.
Oh, okay, nice to know. That was a question for me. I wanted to know that, just my own curiosity. Now, one question I like to ask all our guests: is there a particular NHL team that you support?
Unfortunately, so I'm a Buffalo Sabres fan.
Nothing wrong with that.
Long suffering. I don't know. There was staying up a few nights at uni to watch those games at midnight to be 3-0 down by the end of the first period. It was a bit of a miserable time, but I think there's a bright future for them as well. Actually, good young kids in that team.
Yeah, I have a bit of a soft spot for Buffalo. I think a lot of people do.
Been the whipping boys for long enough. I think it's time all these draft picks started turning things around. So yeah, we'll see how it goes, but hoping for a few more wins there this year too.
What players would you say inspired you to get into playing hockey?
My dad, actually. My dad would have played sort of in the 70s or 80s, I think. And he played for the Humberside Seahawks.
Oh, wow.
Which have obviously now just come back as the Hull Seahawks. So yeah, I think they were British Division 1 or British Division 2 at the time. I can't remember how the structure was, but yeah. And he kind of taught us as we grew up, me and my sister.
So you went on from that to start with the Grimsby Academy, I think I saw on Elite Prospects?
Yeah, that's right. It started on the Puddle when I was about 9 or 10, I think. And played there through juniors and a bit of rec until I went to uni.
Do you follow any other sports apart from hockey, like football, anything like that?
Oh yeah, you name it, I'll watch it. Football especially, yeah. I'm a big Liverpool fan, so I've been taking a bit of stick around that.
I'm going to try and remove you from the podcast.
Yeah, it's not easy living in Manchester.
Oh, blooming it. Oh, yeah. Altrincham. Wow. I bet you do get some stick as well from Blackburn fans as well, the Hawks.
Well, that's it. I tend not to wear my Liverpool tops out and about anymore.
Now, next up, we've got a couple of questions for you from the fans. First of all, this comes from Graham Lomax. You might have heard of him.
Just once or twice.
He asks, is the air thinner up there?
My sister actually, she screenshotted this and sent it to me. Yeah, it's a good one. It's one that I've not heard in a while. Explains why I fall over so much on the ice when I'm passed out from the thin air.
Good answer. Good answer. Next up, this one's from Leo in Blackburn. He asks, what advice would you give somebody that's looking to get into playing hockey?
Oh, good question. Get yourself down to public skates. Try and get skating as much as you can. Try and find some, I don't know if there are learn to play sessions or beginner sessions in Blackburn. But yeah, just try and get as much ice time as you can and really focus on the skating. And once you get that down, everything else just follows. But yeah, good question. And if you get into it, Leo, I hope it goes well.
And one final question for you, Luke, before we let you go. What are your goals and aims for the remainder of the season?
Oh, that's a really good question. Try and take as much out of it as I can. Try and develop as much as I can as a player. That was my goal coming in. That's why I chose Blackburn, with the coaching setup with Dom here and his experience. So yeah, take it all in, develop as much as I can, and do everything I can to help the team to get as many wins as we can this year.
Brilliant. Well, thank you for taking time to come on the podcast, buddy.
No, not a problem. Anytime. Thank you very much.
We'll definitely have you on again in the future.
Fantastic. Great to hear.
All right. No worries. See you soon then, mate.
Nice one. Thanks. Bye.
Hawks Talk.
And our second guest on the podcast is forward for the Hawks, Dylan Harcourt. How are you doing, Dylan?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for taking time to come on the podcast.
No worries. It's my pleasure.
Let's start off by talking about the recent games. We've just had the loss away to Nottingham. Tell us your thoughts on that game.
I think, the that game was obviously how I don't really know how to explain it. It was like we started off slow, and then we just didn't really get our groove, like into our groove. We didn't really get our flow, and I feel like we struggled a bit to like find ourselves in that game. But everyone has those games. I feel like, but we're definitely going to bounce back from that. All the boys, we've said it, like we can't let that happen again, and it's not good to lose that to that score, especially Ben Keddy travels down 5 hours to play in goal for us, and we do you know what I mean? We need to show character there, and it's not a good thing, but it's hockey at the end of the day. It happens.
We've also had the 2 games home and away to Sheffield. How did you find those games?
I feel like those games we did, the first game was, especially as a team, it was just an amazing game to play in because it showed like we trained twice, I think, before that game, just as a team. So, and obviously as a team, for like, you normally meant to have pre-season stuff like that. We had 2 training sessions on, like, obviously you could see on the ice that everyone just worked together. The whole team could, like, everything was just perfect, I think, in my eyes. And both games went really well, especially in the first game. The second game was good as too. I feel like, both games were really good, and I thoroughly enjoyed playing in both of them.
In between the 2 Sheffield games, we had the home opener against Solihull. Tell us your experience about playing in front of the Hawks fans for the first time.
Wow, obviously, it's. I feel like it's just amazing. Like, to never, especially in England, like you don't really, in like I wouldn't call it lower leagues, but in our league, like you wouldn't expect that many fans to show up to a game. But it just shows like how many people like are interested in hockey and love hockey, and it was just a great experience to play in. And like when we went down, I think, well, when we were drawing 2-2 and I scored that goal, the crowd just got going, and it just keeps you going, and it feels like it's just an amazing feeling. I can't really describe it. It was like the adrenaline was just unreal as well.
I was going to say we were unlucky with the results, and like you said, you managed to grab yourself a goal,
Yeah.
and we all know that hell of a celebration that you did. Tell us about that.
I think I lost the plot of it when I did that celebration, but it's just passion for me. I feel like when you're in a tight game like that and you score a goal to make it 3-2, when you're coming up from when you're losing 2-0, I feel like everything just like it's like it was in slow motion for me. It was just an amazing to score on my home debut as well, like in front of the fans, and it was just I can't really remember it, if I'm honest. Like I just scored and then I don't really remember much after that. My whole just went black for me, but it was slow motion when I scored. It was an amazing feeling.
Just like pure adrenaline takeover.
Yeah.
Now, before you joined the Hawks, you played for the Altrincham Aces, didn't you? Tell us about how you came to play for us here in Blackburn.
Well, I was doing conference a few weeks before, and this is a funny story actually. Me and Ollie Pears, we were talking about what we were gonna do the next season, and I told him that there was trials going at Blackburn and should come down. So, and obviously then he signed before me, so I was thinking, right, like we spoke it into existence really. But it was. I saw that there was trials going on. I just thought I'm gonna go for it because I want to obviously play at a higher level, get more experience in and stuff like that, and then just see where it goes from there. And luckily, here I am.
Have you always played as a forward?
Yeah, I always played as a forward, yeah.
Because when I was doing some research for this podcast, I found out that your dad used to play for the Hawks back in the early 90s, and I think he played D, didn't he?
Yeah, my dad, he played D a lot. My dad was a rough and tough guy. He liked to fight, my dad, and I'm not really like that, but yeah.
You're the skilled member of the family.
yeah, definitely.
Has it been easy for you to buy into Dom's systems and what he wants to do with the club?
Yeah, I mean, Dom honestly like one of the best coaches I've ever had. the way he deals with things and like how calm he is and like how good he is at what he does, it amazed me at first. Especially like in training and stuff. He wants us all to just like come like try our hardest, and we always do, like especially in training. Like he's honestly a great guy. And for me, like especially in a changing room, like you want that. You don't want someone that's not bothered, or like you don't want someone that's gonna do half a job. He's like Dom's like thoroughly invested in this club, and that's what I love about him. He's fully invested in the players, and he wants everyone to be happy and obviously win games. So yeah, he's doing a fantastic job in my eyes.
Now, you mentioned you came through Altrincham Aces and you did the conference before, but what sort of progression route is it something you want to play in the Elite League one day? Is that what you're aspiring to do?
I mean, Elite League, yeah, I'd push for, yeah. I mean, I hope one day that I could play in the Elite League. I want to try and go up a league though to the I don't know what the league's called above us.
The Planet Ice National League.
Yeah, that's the league I want to go into. Just before the season started, I went to watch a game and it just looked amazing, like how they were on the ice and stuff and how fast it was. And I feel like said to myself, yeah, that's somewhere I want to be. That's somewhere like I want to play.
I think it was the whole Seahawks you all went to watch, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah, it was the whole Seahawks versus Leeds Knights in the Yorkshire Cup.
Well, they're two teams we have players with on two ways, so hopefully in the future that's something you can look at doing, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, yeah.
Now, we mentioned before about your dad playing hockey. Was that the main reason that got you into playing the sport as well?
Yeah, it started as me at like 4 or 5 going to watch the Phoenix games when they were around. And then I got into hockey when I was like 4. Well, I was like 4 or 5. I can't really remember, but yeah, I started playing from a young age and fell in love with the sport ever since I started playing it. So my dad was my coach for many years, and yeah, it was fun times back then. Especially when my dad coached me and stuff, because me and my dad had such a close bond, especially because of hockey, and yeah, I loved it.
The next question I always ask every guest we have on, just because I'm a bit nosy, but I'm pretty passionate about it as well. Which NHL team do you support?
Chicago Blackhawks.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Not another one. The right answer is the Pittsburgh Penguins, just for future reference. Why the Blackhawks? Where did that come from?
So when I was younger, I used to watch like before games and stuff. It was pretty weird this. I used to watch like highlights of Patrick Kane and how he used to move the puck. And for me, he's like my favourite player of all time, and I just think his skill level is like unbeatable.
He is a very good player. Very good player. I can see it now, actually, like that you take a lot from him with the way you play and the way you push forward.
Yeah.
Is there any other sports or teams that you're into away from hockey?
Well, I support Man United, football-wise.
Oh, right. That's it. You're going. That's it. That's enough. No, I'm only joking.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it, really. I used to play roller hockey as well for Glossop Devils.
All right. Okay.
So I started playing. I only played for a bit. I didn't play for long, but I feel like with roller hockey, it improves your like ice game a lot as well, because it's like a lot more open space, especially in roller hockey, because there's only 4 guys on at a time.
Yeah.
So it's more to work with, if you know what I mean.
That's like the old Wayne Gretzky thing. He used to like it when it was 4-on-4 hockey because he had more space.
Yeah.
So what is it you do with your time away from the ice?
Not much really. I just tend to stay in or go out with my mates. Yeah, I don't really do much. I like to go and just like go out with my girlfriend or something like that, or like go for a nice meal with the family, or I like to chill a lot. So
yeah.
Or I'll go to the gym. I go to the gym quite a lot. So
do you play NHL then on the PlayStation or the Xbox?
PlayStation.
Good man. Good man. You just redeemed yourself there. Now, the next part, we've got a couple of questions for you from the Hawks fans. This first one is from Derek Cotton. He asks, if you could play with any player, past or present, who would it be? I think I've got a good idea now.
I think obviously Patrick Cambridge's another one. It's this kid called Connor Bedard. If you've seen clips of him on YouTube, he is unreal. Like his skill level is just a bit like, I can't even explain. Watching some of the clips on YouTube, it's like you need to go and watch Connor Bedard. He's an unreal player.
Yeah, he's a great player.
Yeah, for sure.
I think with players like him and Cale McCarr, like they're changing the game, aren't they? Yeah,
massively.
There was an opportunity there to get some brownie points in with your dad to say your dad, but
oh yeah, my dad as well. Yeah.
Now, this next question is from the voice of the rink himself, Aidan Wignall.
Mm-hmm.
He asks, how do you think you've settled in with the Hawks?
I think I've settled in very well, to be honest. At the start of the season, I was a bit like nervous and stuff to go in the changing room, but because everyone's so lovely and like everyone's great. The dressing room is great always. Like it's a great environment to be in, especially at Blackburn. It's just an amazing place to be. Like I look forward to going to training on Thursdays, and I love going because like everyone's, you know what I mean? Everyone gets on so well, and I think that's where we bonded as a team at the start, like before we'd even got to be a team, if that makes sense. Like it was just, yeah, it was really good, and everyone gets on so well, and it's always good to have in the dressing room.
Has anything surprised you, like with joining the Hawks, about like how professional it is, or like the backroom staff kind of side of it?
Yeah, it's when I got told I could leave my kit, I was like, "Are you sure?" And I kept asking Anthony, I was like, "Are you sure I can leave my kit? Yeah, it's fine." And he was like, "Yeah, no worries." He's like, "You've never had this before, have you?" And I was like, "No." And it was like, it amazed me. I thought like, wow, like you really do. Like, it's so, honestly, it's so professional from like everyone to, especially like the way everyone deals with things and like how we are as a club. I feel like even on the bus as well, like the bus we got on to Nottingham on Sunday, it was a really nice bus. Like, and you don't just get that with teams that like, you know what I mean, aren't as professional as we are. And it was just nice to have. It's nice to have the little things like leaving your kit and like being able to leave your stick at the rink and not having to like, if that makes sense.
No, I get what you mean.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And one final question for you before we let you go. What are your aims and goals for the season?
My goal for the season is just to improve a lot. I want to improve the way I play, and mainly just, yeah, there's not really much else I can say but improve and like get myself to that next level, hopefully, within a few years. But yeah, yeah.
No, I get what you mean. Do you just want to work on the progression and then move forward from there?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like progression for me is a big thing because it's just good to make yourself want to work harder for things and do better for yourself, if that makes sense.
Brilliant. So we'll let you go. We'll have you back on the podcast in a future episode.
Yeah.
No worries. Good to have you on. Take care, buddy.
No worries. Thank you.
Hawks Talk.
Thank you once again to Luke and Dylan for taking the time to come on the podcast. If you haven't done it already, check out the brand new range of Hawks merchandise. It's available to purchase now on the Hawks store online or at the merch table on match nights. We also have some player jerseys still available for sponsorship. These have been reduced in price from £70 to £50, the perfect way to support your favourite Hawks player. The next game up for us is on the 2nd of October against the champions, the Solway Sharks. Always a big test for the boys, and I'm really looking forward to this one. You can get your tickets in advance online now, or you can purchase them on the door. Let's get a big crowd in for this one and get behind the Hawks. Well, that is all we have time for. Thank you all once again for tuning into this episode of the Hawks Talk podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on whichever platform you're listening to us on. We want to get you, the Hawks fans, involved in the podcast as much as possible. So if you've got any ideas or any questions you want us to ask, just send me an email, hawkstalk@blackburnhawks.com. I'll be back on your next episode. Until then, see you later.
Hawks Talk.